All eyes on Doge. Big run up to the moon. Whew. Doge still going up. All eyes on Doge. Still big run up to the moon. Keep going up. Going up. All eyes on Doge. Dogecoin. Upward movement in Doge. Dogecoin. Up. All eyes on Doge. Dogecoin. Upward movement in Doge. Dogecoin. 42.6. All eyes on Doge. Dogecoin.
Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome. It is a Friday afternoon. I'm starting a little early because we've got weakness in the market. My theme was already going to be about the bottom, the Bitcoin bottom, the Dogecoin bottom, the cycle bottom, bear market, because a lot of you still want to buy more at a lower price. So that was going to be the theme of this afternoon's live stream. But now with prices falling back, crypto in the red, it becomes even more focused and more important because I'm inevitably going to get the question, is now a good time to buy? So we're going to look at that. We're going to explore that. What's going on in the markets? What spurred this on a Friday after we've had such a good week? So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So pull up a chair, have a drink. It's a Friday. I hope everybody had a good week. But yeah, it the Friday's down a little bit now. So, okay, Wei, you need to shut up about that. I'm very excited about you and your lighter, but don't tell people that don't buy dough. You don't come in here and say that, dude, okay? All right? I encourage people to have a diversified portfolio. So I'm happy for you and your lighter. Awesome. Okay. But come on. All right. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Warshy Warsh Friday. Yes, it was a Kevin Warsh led thing. We're going to talk about that. We are definitely going to talk about that. So let me drop it down here in the corner. The current price is 8.45. We did dip below 8.4. And with that dip on Dogecoin going below 8.4, we repeated what we did here on Wednesday with the dip. So now we've got a double dip going here, all right? A double dip. Double bottom, short term, we'll see. Weakness may still continue though. Bitcoin came down to 77.5. Now, actually it hit 76.9 on the initial dip, 76.9. And for Bitcoin, we broke the upward trend that we were watching here. This upward trend, which we hit back on Sunday, we hit the bottom back again on Wednesday, and then today we failed it. So, so the upward trend has now been denied, and we're trying to figure out here, at least on the short term, whether Bitcoin is going to recover here for the weekend or go lower. We have seen weekend pullbacks before. A week ago, we were enjoying this big run on Friday as Bitcoin went up over $80,000. And then what happened? Over the weekend, it just kind of drifted sideways. Bitcoin drifted sideways here. Here's Saturday and here's Sunday. So it all went kind of sideways. So are we going to repeat that? Let me put a little rectangle here under Saturday and yeah, that'd be right there. Are we going to repeat that? And that goes through Sunday right there. So let me put let's make this a purple box. All right. So that box there was the weekend trading for Bitcoin last weekend. So we're going to refer to that again in a little bit. But there's Bitcoin. It broke the upward trend that Bitcoin had here on Friday. So we did have a dip here it was early Saturday morning was the dip where Bitcoin went from 78.8 and came down to 76.6. So we're right in that same range right here, right where we were just about a week ago. So that's Bitcoin. Dogecoin, if we look at Doge, Doge went sideways as well last weekend. But now we were at a lower price than we were last weekend because we were around this 922 level now, and now we're around 842. So, and that happens when you have a pullback in the market that Bitcoin pulls back, but Dogecoin pulls back more. We talked about this on Wednesday because people were asking, well, Dogecoin's so weak. And I'm like, yep, Dogecoin is weak when there's a market pullback. Dogecoin will lose more versus Bitcoin. However, on the big runs like we had here, again, Dogecoin went up 40%, Bitcoin only went up 25%. So Dogecoin outperforms Bitcoin on the runs up, but then the weakness, Dogecoin falls a little more than Bitcoin. So what happened today, right? And why did Bitcoin decide to take a U-turn here? Yeah, right around 10 o'clock. It was really more almost 11, sort of on the back end of the Warsh speech, because during the Warsh speech, there was up and down movement. There was a candle here that had a big wick on it. This is on the hourly candle with a big wick on it. And then the next hour, it dropped. And that's when people started to get the full sense, thinking about and re-looking at the text of the Warsh speech. So what was this today? So this was Jackson Hole. In Jackson Hole, every August, because there's no FOMC in August, there's always this conference, kind of internal conference with all the Fed bigwigs in August in Jackson Hole. And part of that is always a speech by the Fed Reserve Chair. We're used to seeing these with Jerome Powell the past 8 years. Well, today it was Kevin Warsh's turn. So Warsh, Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole just put a September Fed hike, a rate hike back on the table. That's right. Through his words, of course, he wasn't going to say it. I knew that. There were people online that were saying, oh, what's Warsh going to say? Is he raising rates in September? It's like, first, he doesn't raise rates, right? It's the Fed, it's the board that votes on it. He just is the chair. Second, in these speeches, the Fed chair never says whether they're going to raise rates or cut rates or even keep rates the same. Because they can't. It's not his job. That's not his position to say that. The FOMC is when the Board of Governors convenes and they talk about it and then they vote. There's a vote. Yeah, it's like a 13-person vote is what it is. So he wasn't going to say anything. So people who say that, they're just like farming for views or something. It's because it's dumb. So there's that. But in his words, what he was saying is being tough on inflation, but this was not a rate hike or a new Fed decision. Traders are pricing the possibility of tighter policy before policymakers have actually committed to it. The question now is whether the next inflation and jobs reports validate the market's reaction. So the market reacted to what he said without any data behind it. Markets are forward-looking. So they're already projecting what they think is going to happen in September, and that was today. So that's what that is about. But inflation is still pesky, as Kriss has been saying. Kriss Pax has been saying that. Pesky inflation. It continues. And for me, the only way we can get out of it is for Congress to do something. Congress has to cut spending. But Congress will not cut spending because nobody wants to be the one that votes against spending money on their constituents. Nobody wants to vote against that. So the debt keeps going up and inflation continues. It just continues because the only way the US government can pay for all this stuff is to print more money. Fiat goes up, inflation goes up. Everything costs more. With that, we need to have at least the prices of things like crypto, like stocks, they need to go up accordingly. Just to stay even. Yes, just to stay even, we need the price of crypto to go up, just to stay even. And over time, crypto has done very well versus fiat, versus inflation. However, in the shorter term, we're still in a bear market. Even though we just had a nice run last week, Kriss still says we're still in a bear market. And you can say we're already in a bull, and the charts will say yes. From last week to this week, we had a nice run. But Kriss is still a bear because we have not had the confirmation for me that the bull market is here yet. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. So that's what happened today. Was that, and that's kind of what everything was around. It wasn't. There really wasn't other news going on today. This was the big thing. This was today. And of course, the markets dumped. It took a little while. It's kind of a reaction. There was an initial drop, and then prices came back on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Initial drop, prices came back, then they dumped. Part of that could have been a little manipulation, maybe, by market makers at exchanges, just to, bring price up a little bit higher, because that's what happened on Bitcoin here. You can see Bitcoin dropped all the way down to almost 78, and then came up to 79.8 to take out shorts. That's right. They liquidated shorts and then dropped the price. That's what happens. That's what happens. So there was that. And Ash Crypto says, thank you, Kevin Warsh, the first pro-crypto Fed chair in history. And he has his big first speech, and he dumps the crypto market. Dumps the crypto market. So, yeah. So we had that today. And our friend Colin here is like, look, Bitcoin breakdown occurring. And what is that? It's tagging the 50-week moving average. So this is one of those indicators that traditionally has been the flip from a bear market to a bull market, is a 50-week moving average on Bitcoin. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. Let's go to a fresh Bitcoin chart. This is what I want to look at, is a fresh one. Let's go to the one I was looking at earlier today, which is this. So for those just arriving, we do have on this chart, and you can draw it this way, or you can even draw it this way on the high side, higher highs and higher lows. And we flip on the RSI, Relative Strength Index, and you'll see on the Relative Strength Index, what do we have? We have lower highs. Well, let me me get that right. Lower highs on the RSI. So if you got higher highs on the price and lower highs on the RSI, that means the strength is getting weaker, which then leads to lower prices. That is a bearish divergence. You see it on the 1 hour, you see it on the 2 hour, you see it on the 4 hour. You go out to these time frames and it's still higher highs, higher lows, and lower highs on the RSI. So that all points to bearish divergence, because you can't say last week there was bullish divergence with lower prices, but higher RSI, which we had, and had a big run, but then you can't discount the opposite happening when it flips. So this breakdown here, this little breakdown here, makes sense from that perspective, following the big run we had last week with Bitcoin's strength of these higher highs and higher lows. Eventually it was going to break down. So today was the day it broke down. All right, so now let me turn the RSI back off. Remove that. And let's go to the weekly. And then we'll turn on this 50-week moving average. So there it is. And you'll see the 50-week moving average, Bitcoin is below it. Bitcoin is below the 50-week moving average. Let me get rid of these lines now because we don't need those anymore. So we have a nice clean chart here. All right. So there we have it. Now this week ends up being even. It used to be green, but we've come back to the weekly close from Sunday night. So now we just have what's turning into a doji candle here of practically zero movement from beginning to end, with a wick up and a wick down. So that's what we have right now with Bitcoin. We're going to look at Bitcoin for a minute, and we'll get to Doge. But we're going to look at Bitcoin for a minute of what's going on. So, because many people are asking, is the bottom in? Now, we can look at where the bottom was, and we can do that here. And there was the bottom that week right there. And that bottom was at 57,495. So we had that bottom play out. We had my fib line, remember from last December, my fib line that pointed to 57.5 being the Bitcoin bottom of the bear market. So I was pretty close, within $5. Nobody else was that close. I was. So I called the bottom already in. Now, I've also called the Dogecoin bottom questionably in, because the 6767 just seemed a little, I don't know, a little weird, right? That 6767 would actually be the bottom. But then Dogecoin hadn't moved off that very much. But we'll get to Dogecoin in a little bit. So that's the market bottom as of now, right there. Now, we look at Bitcoin's history and we say, okay, let's go out in history and let's look at what happened here. And this is something that Ben Cowan does. So if you watch Ben Cowan, you'll see Ben Cowan likes to talk about what happened in previous bear markets, right? So we had, let me get rid of that. Yeah. Oh, I got a bunch of lines here I need to get rid of. These are all previous lines. Didn't realize these were still on this chart. Hold on just a second. I'm doing this live. Gotta get rid of those old lines. There's probably some graphics back there too in previous years. But what we want to look at is, again, this idea that we had a pullback in February. We had a run here in May, and then we had a further pullback in June, right? So those three things happened, and it was right around this $65,000 line, $65,000. And we could actually pull this down to 60. We can say that was the bottom, right? Because it did dip just below 60. And we can say, okay. And this, again, this is a Ben Cowan thing, which it makes a lot of sense. And we go back to 2018. And we look at what happened in the bear market of 2018. And we say, okay, we had in February 2018, we had a pullback. Then in May of 2018, there was a run up. And then in June of 2018, we had another pullback. What was that pullback to? That pullback was to $6,000. So Ben thinks it's kind of funny that we went from 6,000 there to 60,000 now. But that's what happened. We, again, February pullback, May run up, June pullback again. 2018, bear market. What happened then? We went sideways. There were a couple runs up. One of them did, one of those runs up that we had, and let me do a different arrow because we're going to talk about the 50-week moving average now. So I'm going to change this color to yellow, or maybe blue, because the 50-week is blue arrows. So we did come up and we touched the 50-week moving average. Okay, we touched the 50-week moving average. Now that happened in July. So now it's August 2026. We're touching the 50-week moving average. This was July. So we're off by about a month. What happened after that? Eventually, we broke below the low. We did that. And let me take that one, let me turn it back to white. So that was, or maybe red because it hasn't happened yet this time. All right. So that's the pattern that Ben was talking about, was that pattern exactly there, 2018. So this kind of move has happened before. February low, May comes up, June comes down, lower. It creates a bottom, what could be the bottom of the bear market. The price moves back up, touches the 50-week moving average, and gets rejected. And then eventually capitulates down lower. Now, I don't remember 2018. I wasn't doing Bitcoin, so I don't know what caused that big move down. 2018, this was right at the end of 2018. And Bitcoin went from 6,000 below 4,000. And I don't know what that was that happened in 2018. But that's the pattern. So now we come to 2026. And we say, look, we have a similar thing happening. And here we are. February, we went down, we touched $60,000 instead of 6,000. We moved up, and then we came back down in June. We moved up in May, came back down in June, and at the end of June, what did we have? We had a low. We had a low that I've circled here. So far, that's the low of this cycle. What happened next? Well, look, we moved up and we touched the 50-week moving average right there. Clipped the 50-week moving average. So the question remains, do we do that at some point in time? If history repeats from what happened back in 2018 bear market, we could see a bigger pullback. And let's put it at 40,000. That would be the move. Again, 4,000 back in 2018, 40,000 in 2026. This would be the pattern that would play out. Again, thanks to Ben Cowan for doing this. For those that saw this, that's what happened. Again, I don't know in 2018 what happened for that pullback, that final pullback. I wasn't following crypto then, so I don't know what that was. Will we see something in September or October that causes this kind of pullback? We don't know yet. So all of those so-called experts out there that are already saying we are in a bull market, I say pause, pause. Let's wait until we have confirmation. And that's what Ben is saying as well. Ben's saying the same thing. Let's pause until we have confirmation. Now, we could go to the daily chart and we can say, look, one of the things on the daily chart that we would expect to see is the, let me turn that on. And this is the 200-day moving average in yellow, 200-day moving average. And we have seen in previous cycles, we have seen Bitcoin come down in price, retest the 200-day moving average. And let me make a different color for that. We'll call that orange. Retest the 200-day moving average and then move higher. And that would be a move that would be a possible buying opportunity there. Right now, that 200-day moving average is at about 69,400. It's going to keep moving slowly up as we go through time. But that 69.4 is a target. So you have to decide. Again, this is based on Bitcoin. I'm showing Bitcoin because as Bitcoin goes, so goes pretty much the rest of the crypto market. We always have a few exceptions. Hyperliquid, this bear market, has been one of those exceptions. But 99% of the other major cryptos all follow Bitcoin. And again, with Doge, right? Doge goes up higher than Bitcoin when it's going up percentage-wise. But on the retraces, Dogecoin goes down lower percentage-wise than Bitcoin. And that has happened again already. So what you have to decide is if you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, boy, I'd like to buy some more crypto and I want to buy on the dip. You don't know because it hasn't happened yet. So you don't know what's going to happen. Bitcoin may not even come back and retest the 200-day moving average. But it could also drop lower. It could also do that, which many are calling for. This big drop, and I should probably move this over here, right? This year, 2026, this big drop down to 40K. 40K people are calling for on that. So what I'm going to do instead, because I'm a believer in calendars, is next week, as I have been saying since April, the first week of September, Kriss is going to be buying more crypto because we see this happen summer after summer after summer, and particularly for Dogecoin, that the first week of every month of every summer always presents buying opportunities. This cycle, we've already seen it for Dogecoin, beginning of June, beginning of July, and beginning of August have all been buying opportunities. The beginning of August one was nice because that's when Dogecoin did hit 6767. And Kriss bought a lot of Dogecoin there. So now we're getting closer to that first week of September. It's next week. It's next week. It's the last week leading up to the United States Labor Day. So what is Kriss going to do? Kriss is going to buy more. And Kriss is looking at the first week of September. And I would be looking for this purple box. Our friend, DJ and Charlie, yes, Miss Charlotte, did ask me to draw more boxes. So I'm giving her a box. So this is the DJ and Charlie box here. And this is on Bitcoin. Now we'll draw it on Doge in just a little bit, but this is it on Bitcoin. This is the box I would be looking for. I would be looking for Bitcoin to come down and touch the 200-day moving average on a pullback, 200-day moving average. This is also a line that Tom Crown likes as well. Tom was like, yes, 200-day moving average. Now, will Bitcoin hit 70K, come to 69K? I don't know. But this would be the beginning of a buying opportunity. Now, does that stretch out through August? Yeah, I mean through October. I need to pull this back. This is there. This would be the October pullback, would be in red. So this becomes the zone in which to buy crypto. Again, this is first week of September. I've extended the box through October. Kriss, why did you extend it through October? Because on Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle would technically end in October. We don't know if price is going to be lower and higher in October yet. We don't know that. So we wait. We see how it plays out. But I'm not waiting for October to buy. Again, I already bought in August. I bought in June and July, the first week of each month. Now, the June purchase that I made, I did a swing trade. And right now, I'm a little down on the swing trade because I sold here after that first run up last Wednesday, early Thursday, to go into, like, because I didn't think it would go up as high as it did and that run would continue. And nobody called this. Nobody called for a 25% increase in the price of Bitcoin last week. Some were calling it over a period of time, but nothing this violent coming straight up like it did. Now, we can also look at what happened. Let's go back to the weekly chart. And we can also say, well, what happened in 2022? So we can go to 2022, our last bear market, and we can see that bear market started in late 2021. The price came up. This was in April, so it wasn't quite May, but the price did come up, hit the 50-week moving average and went lower. 2022. Then we had a so-called bottom that happened in June. Now that June bottom, 2022 for Bitcoin, let's say at $18,000, that is when Dogecoin hit 4.95 cents. That was the low for Dogecoin for the 2022 bear market. That happened in June, which is why I was buying Doge this bear cycle in June 1st, and then July, and then August, and then September. Because in previous bear markets, we have seen lows in each of those months. We've seen dips and we've seen lows. So that's why I bought in June. Now I bought it about 8.6 cents or so. And you say, well, that was dumb, Kriss, because it went down to 7 cents in July. And I'm just like, we didn't know that. At the time, we didn't know that. So I was dollar cost averaging, spreading out my buys throughout the summer, because back in 2022, for Dogecoin, if you had not bought in June, you were buying higher in July, August, and September. However, with Bitcoin, we had this final flush here that happened in November. And remember, that was the FTX bankruptcy and the Bitcoin crash, where Bitcoin went all the way down to 15,600 right here. And it wasn't until March of 2023 that Bitcoin eventually moved over the 50-week moving average. It took until March 2023. That was bad. That FTX crash was bad. Now, the bear market, you can blame on, in 2022, Luna, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, like all of those, right? That all happened. All of that was happening, and that was this huge pullback. You would think that Bitcoin probably wouldn't have had this dump if it wasn't for FTX. It would have started going back up already and would have clipped back above the 50-week moving average, maybe before the end of 2022. We don't know that. So slightly different, happened within the same years, touching the 50-week moving average, moving lower, and then eventually, hitting a bear market bottom, and then coming back over the 50-week moving average. So that happened there as well. So that's what we have for all of this Bitcoin stuff, all right? So Doge, let's go to Doge. Dogecoin's different. Again, Dogecoin moves up more violently than Bitcoin. We saw it in 2024, obviously. We had this big move on Doge, which far outperformed Bitcoin November into December 2024. Again, Bitcoin at that time, November into December 2024, Bitcoin went on a good run. Let's call it from beginning of October until beginning of December, and Bitcoin went up 84%. 84%. That's a pretty good return, right? On a big run like that. This past Bitcoin run that we just had was 25%. November into December 2024, Bitcoin went up about 85%. So you go from 25% to 85%. That's a big run. That's a big run. But what did Dogecoin do? Well, if we go back to October, and then we go up to the top in first week of December, we get 340%. Four times what Bitcoin did. That's what Dogecoin did. So, to my friend, Handle with Care, I'll just call you Handle with Care. You say handle what you could do, but handle with care. I say, this is the reason that I buy Dogecoin now and not Bitcoin. We are at bear market bottoms. We're at bear market bottoms. It's either already happened or it's going to happen September, October timeframe. We don't know that yet. Even if it's already happened, though, at some point in time, next bull cycle, there's going to be a move that Dogecoin's going to make. Now, I don't know if it's going to be at 340%, but it's 4 times the move of what Bitcoin did. And Bitcoin was that's pretty good. 85% move is pretty good. Again, we just had a 25% move for Bitcoin. This was 85%. So Dogecoin went up 340. That was 4 times. Now, I want to have some Bitcoin in my portfolio. The next time Dogecoin does this, I'm probably going to flip some of that Doge into Bitcoin. So instead of buying Bitcoin now, I'm going to buy Bitcoin once Doge does this. At some point in time in the next bull cycle, Doge has gone on a run every bull cycle and it's outperformed Bitcoin every bull cycle. What keeps Dogecoin from consistently beating Bitcoin are the bear markets, because Bitcoin holds up better than Doge. Doge sells off. I even showed another chart of that in this morning's video. Doge goes on a run, sells off. Doge goes on a run, sells off. And we even see it here in 2024 into 2025. This nice 340% run is awesome. However, Dogecoin did sell off like 68% of its gain. Did sell off. That's how Dogecoin trades. Exactly, bull market. It can sell off 4 times more than Bitcoin. Exactly. That's when you have to decide as an investor or as a trader, are you just going to hold Doge through this, or are you going to do something about it? And I've said this next bull cycle, I'm going to do a trade. I'm going to trade like half of my Doge into Bitcoin. This past cycle, I didn't hold Dogecoin all the way down at a 68% loss. I took profits up here at 42 cents and then here at about 32 cents, average or so. That was right at the end of January 2025 when Trump had just taken office and then was talking tariffs and freaking the hell out of the markets. And I'm like, okay, I can see what's coming. And I told you all that. I told you what I did. Most of you just held and held all the way back down. The rest of this 68% sell-off. So yeah, bull market, you're right. That can happen. You just got interrupted with a Trump ad. Oh, sorry, dude. Hey, we were just talking about him too. Because that was the sell-off that you said. That's exactly what the sell-off was because of Trump. First, the Trump token, which pulled all that liquidity out of the meme market. And then it was the tariffs and the fear of tariffs and what they would do. And the whole market came down. So I took profits. I did not hold everything all the way down. So if something like this happens, let's say 2027 or 2028, again, we don't know yet. And you won't know when the top is. Again, 42 cents was a point. I was going to take my next slice up at 50 cents. We got up to 48. That ended up being the top. Nobody knew that at the time because things were still looking good. And I was like, yeah, 50 cents. I had a limit order set of 50 cents to take another slice of profit. And instead, it reversed. That happens. So I didn't make as much money as I could have if we had hit 50 cents. I did okay. I did all right. Because I was buying Dogecoin back at 5 cents and 6 cents. And if you sell when it's 30 or 40 cents, you do the math and you're like, yeah, it's a 5x, 6x. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll take those odds. And I'll do that again this time. Now, rebuying Like that 400,000 Doge, I have to rebuy, probably buying at a little higher price. That's okay. If my average is in the sevens, we go back to 40 cents. It's a 5x. I'll take a 5x. 5x. You put $200,000 into the market and you do a 5x, you take $1 million out. I'll take that. This cycle, I'll take that. And then not only taking it out, but flipping some of it for Bitcoin to catch the Bitcoin wave on the tail end. Because inevitably, as what has happened in almost every cycle previously, Dogecoin front runs Bitcoin, goes on a big run, and then Bitcoin goes on its run after Dogecoin. So some of you may ask, Kriss, why do you invest in Dogecoin and not Bitcoin? It's like, I want more Bitcoin. I want Bitcoin. Just now is not the time to buy Bitcoin. Now is the time to buy Doge. Because at some point in time over the next few years, Dogecoin's going to go on a big run. It's going to outperform Bitcoin. And I'm going to end up with more Bitcoin by not buying Bitcoin now, by buying Doge and flipping it over. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I'm doing. So, do I have any Crow? Yes, I do. I do have Crow. Crow went on this run here just about a year ago. Now, that run that Crow went on was a deal that the Crypto.com exchange made with Trump, the Trump organization. Well, that deal just unwound. And this big red candle that we had here earlier this month was the unraveling of that a year later. So I don't know what that means for Crow token going forward. I mean, this was nice up at 30 cents. You know, we're now just below 6 cents, which is this yellow line here. Anything below 6 cents here was a buying opportunity for Crow. And we're back there at 5.6 cents right now for Crow. So if you're a believer in Crow token and you think we can do 6x and get back up to 30 cents, again, that's a pretty good return. I'll take 5x. I'll take a 5x on anything. We don't know how this cycle is going to play out. I'm not ridiculously dreaming of 100x's. There's probably a token or two that will do something like that, but you don't know which ones are going to do that. That's the gambling part, and more likely than not, you're going to get rugged and you're going to end up with zero if you go play that casino game of those tokens. I don't play that game. I've got a couple long-term, low market cap things that have been around for a little bit that maybe will go on some kind of run. It's a small part of my portfolio, and it's just small part, just to be in them in case that happens. And I've talked about those in previous live streams. That's not the focus of today. The focus of today is the bottom end. And for Doge, well, let's go back to the Bitcoin, right? Let's go back to the Bitcoin and the chart that we were on, BTC, for those that may just be joining. So this was our chart here that we just did about Bitcoin. Was this purple box here. So this would be the target zone for buying back in crypto, not specifically Bitcoin, but crypto. What crypto are you going to be buying? Any crypto. If Bitcoin goes into this purple box, I don't think it matters. You're going to do okay in the next bull market. There's going to be winners and there's going to be mild winners. There's going to be better winners than others. We don't know which ones that's going to be this cycle. But you can talk about utility and you can say, sure, Solana, right? Solana is going to do great. Hyperliquid's going to keep going up and it's going to go more and more. Ethereum. Now, for Ethereum to do a 5x, right, from 2,500, if ETH does a 5x from there, it's well over $10,000. Do you think ETH is going to do that? There are some people calling for that. Tom Lee's calling for it, but Tom Lee has been bullish like all through the whole bear cycle. And you can't believe a word that guy says because he's been wrong for the past 10 months. He's been wrong. Kriss was not wrong. For those of you that were here in November and December when I called the bear market and I said where prices would be in the summer of 2026, and that's exactly where prices went. Some of you weren't believing me then. I get that. That's all right. I get it. So what does that mean for Doge now? What are we going to do about Dogecoin? Dogecoin's pulling back. This is a clear pullback on Dogecoin here. This is a daily chart. So there's going to be, at some point in time, a place to start buying Doge. Let's put the top of our box here. 1st of September at 8 cents. And then the box is going to extend down, let's just say to the previous bottom. 6.767 there. And then we will pull the box out into October. This would mirror what we just drew on that Bitcoin chart. And indeed, if we get Dogecoin sort of coming down over the weekend into next week, Kriss is going to start buying back in. That's what I would expect to happen, is something like that. Will Dogecoin break 8 cents and go into the upper sevens? I think so. I think we're gonna break below the support line, which is the 0.618 on the fib. I think we're going to touch it, come back above, and then break through lower. Most likely sometime next week. We'll see how that plays out. But so far, I think by having this big red daily candle now, which is now a 5% red candle, that starts to put the doubt in people's minds of whether we are in a bull market or not. Because in a bull market, you wouldn't expect to see a 5% red candle, would you? Sure, in the past, there have been 5% red candles during an overall bull market. We aren't in a bull market yet. Again, because of all the reasons I just said 20 minutes ago or half an hour ago. Bitcoin has not ended a week above the 50-week moving average. Confirmation of a bull market. Similarly, we had what Kriss needed as a confirmation of a bear market back in October, November 2025. And that's where I flipped. It was the 1st of November 2025 and said, yeah, bear market. And many of you didn't believe me. But that's how it worked out. This is one of those times that, to me, is saying, no, too soon. It's too soon to say bull market. Are you betting on an altcoin run again like 2021? You're expecting Doge to just do its own thing? Yeah, Tether Auditor, I believe Doge will do its own thing. I think that 2021 total altcoin, anything you touched went up like 20x. That's not going to happen again. That was a once in a lifetime thing. I think it's going to be more like 2024, that kind of thing, where Doge is kind of going to go on a run. Probably all the memes will go with it. There'll be this meme coin thing that'll happen. So we'll see Pepe and Sheeb and all of those do well all around the same time. So that kind of thing is what I'm guessing is probably going to happen again. And then others like Link and other good utility-based altcoins will just continue to churn and do better throughout the next bull cycle, as ETH will do, and Solana, and like all of that is going to happen. The ones you don't know are the ones that don't really have much utility, are a ghost of what they used to be, like Polkadot or something. Like, we don't know what that's going to do. Are people going to just start buying it because they think it's going to go back up to the price it was before? Probably. But does that mean it's really going to outperform something like Dogecoin? Most likely not. So I'm not touching stuff like that. The way you manage to find algorithms everywhere. Yeah, it's again, a lot of the credit for that whole thing I went through goes to Ben Cohen, because those were things Ben was pointing out. What happened in previous bull markets, what happened in previous bear markets, because Ben's really good at all of that data. What he doesn't talk about is the news and the events that cause these things to happen. And that's what I'm always looking for, is what causes these things, because it doesn't happen just because there are lines on a chart. There's news events that cause these things to happen, whether it's world economics or it's specifically crypto. Something makes things happen. So thank you, Red Bull. Appreciate it. Crypto dogs, we're booming, but not the way you want right now. Definitely still in bear market. The move was based on news. You sell the news. And not only that, but the news, again, this was a week ago, Wednesday, Scott Bessent, U.S. Treasury Secretary, announced the big bond buybacks, which is really just a shell game of short-term for long-term, all of that. We went through that in detail here last week. If you're interested in that, you can put a question in the chat, but you'd be better off going back to Wednesday's live stream, where I actually went into the detail of what all that was about. But you know that the 30-year bond yields are already back up to where they were last Wednesday morning? It's like it doesn't matter. Again, markets are forward looking. So the 30-year bond has already gone back up to where it was, meaning the traders don't believe it. Now they don't believe it. And they're looking ahead and they're saying, this economy is not great. And that's partially why I think this is going to happen as well. And I know, I would do so much better on YouTube here. I would have so many more followers. I'd have so many more people watching my live streams and watching my videos if all I talked about was bull market and everything was up, up, up. And every video that I made is Dogecoin to $1. Just like our friend Will here and his YouTube videos he watches were XRP to $100, right? Those things get a lot of views, don't they, Will? They get a lot of views. But I mean, come on, man, really, $100 XRP? I mean, really? Really? $100 XRP? But they get the views. Me, I do this and keep it real because I make more money investing than I make here on YouTube. And my goal is to make more money investing, again, here. So I do this and I go through this analysis not only to make the content in my videos and my live streams, but also so I can buy better. I can get lower prices when I buy, and I can get higher prices when I sell. If I had not gone through all of that I did last cycle, the last bull cycle and talked about taking slices and taking profits, I wouldn't have done as well. I was convinced at first 35 cents was going to be it maybe last cycle, but as Doge was going up, eclipsing 35 cents, I didn't take profits then. And then I just thought it would be cute to go like 420.69, right? 42.069, which is what I ended up doing. And I made a lot of money on that deal. That was pretty good. We'll look for something like that again next bull cycle. Now, for those that are asking me for my price predictions for the next bull cycle, not time for that yet. It's not time for that yet. We got to see how the rest of this bear market plays out. We got to see how the rest of the bear market plays out. And I don't think we're done yet. It's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I was wrong. But the markets are telling me something. The news is telling me something that isn't a $100 XRP. It's not happening. But it's also not happening anytime soon either. Yes, they do. Yeah, well, right? They get more followers, more subs, more views. But they're like, XRP is not going to $100. I could do a whole series of Dogecoin to $1 videos. I could do a whole series of them. And I would get so many more subs, so many more followers, so many more views. I can't. I just can't do that. Which is why a lot of you guys come here and listen to me. It's for that reason alone. Now, if I say Doge is going to $1, then you guys are really going to perk up and you're going to be like, whoa, Kriss said Doge to $1, really? Yeah, I started early, Ryan, because we had a price situation here. We had a price situation here going on this afternoon. The Doge came all the way down to 838 here, 838. And so I was like, yeah, I need to just start earlier on a Friday, see what happens. Now it's all quieted down and things are kind of going sideways here for the past hour. But so I started a little early because I didn't know whether this was going to keep dropping or not. So, but it's still weak. It is still weak. The purple box is going to be in play by October 23rd. Mark my words. All right, Arcade. See? So I've drawn the purple box. Again, this is for our friend DJ and Charlie. She asked me to draw a box. I drew a box. She asked me to draw a box. So we'll see whether we reach the box or not. And again, this is just for buying opportunities is what they are. Buying opportunities. Doge Maxi, how are you? Finally got my DCA down to 18 cents. If you had to guess, how much longer do I have to accumulate? September and October. Maybe September is the low. Maybe it extends in October. I don't know. So, yeah, Joseph, yeah, we'll look at the upside in the fall. Okay? Stick around. We'll get there. We will get there. Would you be able to draw extensions from the 24 high and 26 low? I'm curious to see what the 1.618 extension. Yeah, we will look at that in the fall. Yes, in the fall, we will be definitely looking at that on the fib lines. Indeed. Dogecoin to 50 cents. Again, 50 cents would be awesome. It would be more than a 5x. It would be more than a 5x. We should celebrate that. We should definitely celebrate that. The blue line moving average, when we dip under that blue line, will be my buy alert. Buy alert. So this is it's the weekly, right? Bitcoin weekly moving average is the blue line, is that right there. So that means if we close a week above that 50-week moving average, that would signal to Kriss the bear market is over, and we haven't done that yet. So that's what that is. The blue line. It's the 50-week moving average. The yellow right here is a 200-week moving average down here, but that is drawn for the daily. So we go to the daily time frame, and we say here is the 200-day moving average, and it's at 69,200. 69,200. So that is where oh, it's not on this Bitcoin chart. It's on the other Bitcoin chart. I will have to draw it on this one. That's where the corner of this purple box is. Somewhere, I got to get it to the 1st of September, right? Right there. So the that 200-day moving average is going to be right close to $70,000. Next Tuesday, September 1st. So that's what that is. Now, do we bounce off that 200-day moving average and move higher? Or do we settle nicely into the purple box? That we don't know. But that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And it might not be September 1st. It might be the 7th, or, we'll see. We'll see how next week plays out. But that's what I'm looking for. Is that delusion loses money. Reality makes money. And those guys who make those videos, they do okay. I'm sure they do okay. I mean, if they bought XRP down at like 30 cents and XRP is over $1, they're up. They're making money. They're doing okay. Like I said, you can make money in XRP. But man, it's not going to $100. 2032 price for it. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. But you are always truthful. That's why I'm in here. Thank you, Will. Trying to keep it real. Does Doge have the most weight in your portfolio? Yes. Dogecoin is the most in my portfolio. And it will continue to be until we see the next bull market high. Make a Doge to $100 meme video, but make it obviously satirical. Yes. I should do it over the top, right? Well, maybe Doge to $10. I mean, okay, yes. Overly satirical, okay, $100. Yes. Charlotte has been doing other stuff. That's all. She's living life, doing other stuff. We keep in touch on X Twitter. But yeah. I also laugh when I watch Quant to 100. Yeah. QNT. Quant. Well, I mean, it's at 61 now. That could go to 100. Yeah, it was last 100 here in last November. Quant's looking weak, though. Looking weak. I got monies to buy. I got a purple box for you, Ryan. I got a purple box for you. We drew a resistance line a few months ago. I don't mind having a spider web of lines on my chart, but it makes the trend hard to read. Yeah, I try and keep it pretty simple. It's kind of interesting here that, again, these moving averages, the TA guys love them. Tom Crown loves the moving averages. He's always looking at them. And on Doge, we got the 200-day moving average, which we came over last Friday, came back and retested Sunday and Monday. Tuesday came below, but came back up Thursday and Friday today and retouched that 200-day moving average before moving lower. To me, that is that's a bearish setup. That's a bearish setup right there. That's what that is. Chuck is here lurking, driving home. Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road. Most people watching are average Joes. Yeah. And that's how we continue to treat this. I am in the purple box. Super Dave is already in the purple box, waiting for those tasty Dogecoins. Okay? All right. Does Doge always front run BTC? Yes. I think the only time that BTC front ran Doge was probably near the end of 2017. I think Dogecoin was a little bit delayed, but Doge had run earlier than that. But definitely 2021. Dogecoin front ran Bitcoin both in early 2021 and mid 2021. Dogecoin front ran Bitcoin in 2022. Dogecoin front ran Bitcoin in 2024. So yes. $100,000 for quant. Oh, sorry. 100,000. Yeah, that's not happening. Yes, we need a satirical Doge video. Oh, my. Don't Doge and drive. I will pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. Yep. You send me 1 Bitcoin, I'll send you 2 back. You send me a Bitcoin today, wink, wink, nod, nod, and I'll send you 2 on Tuesday. Okay? F1, how are you? You notice the death cross. Okay, well, which death cross? Because there's only one real death cross. There's only one real death cross. And that is on the daily, and it's the 200 and the 50. And that's not happening. It's the 200 and the 50 on the daily. We have called this out before, right there. See that little red circle right there? That's the death cross right there. It happened in November 2025. November 9th, 2025 was the death cross. And that's why I've got that red circle on my chart here. I keep it there to remind everyone. That is the death cross. It's only on the daily, and it's only the 50 passing under the 200. That's it. There are all these other make-believe death crosses, which are other moving averages on other time frames, but they don't count. All right, F1, they don't count. That's the real death cross, is right there. And I had already called a bear market before that happened last cycle. I had already called it back here a week before the death cross actually happened. I had already called bear market. Now, at that time, Dogecoin was at 18 cents. Kind of crazy, right? Well, that was it. That was the time. Yeah, so that's the bear market beginning. That was the death cross. We have not had a golden cross yet. We came mildly close here, mildly close in June. Now the 50 is starting to curl up, but the 50 is still way down here at 7.5 cents. While the 200 is up here at 8.9 cents. So we're not close to a golden cross yet. That will be probably sometime out here, late 2026, early 2027, when we will get a golden cross and we'll be in a bull market. But until then, we're still bear market. In Kriss's opinion, still bear market. I'm so tired. We're 22 hours. Oh, Will. Sorry to hear that, but I guess you got to do what you got to do, right? Did this turn into one of those fake Elon streams? Yeah. If there was a QR code up here, that would be it. That would be your sign right there. If there was a QR code, you'd be like, ah, right. What I wouldn't give for 18 cents. We'll get there, Ryan. We'll get there. Again, could take a while to play out. It could take a while to play out to get to that 18-cent mark again. But right now, Kriss is still calling for lower prices, partially because Kriss wants to buy more at lower prices, but also because that's what I see on the charts. And all of those indicators that Mr. Ben Cowan is talking about could actually turn out to be true. Now, those that are saying $40,000 Bitcoin, I have already said no. I don't think Bitcoin is going down to $40,000, and that the bottom of Bitcoin was already in, which I did call back here at 57,495, right there. 57,495, which we hit beginning of July, right there. That was also the fib line that Kriss did back in December and said that's where the bottom was going to be. And we hit it right there. I said 57.5, it hit 57.495. So for those saying that Bitcoin has to go lower in October, well, we can go back to what we looked at earlier in the stream here, and we can look at what happened in 2022 right here. And there is indeed that lower capitulation that happened in November 2022. And that was Sam Bankman-Fried and the whole FTX bankruptcy and all of that. So we had that. And then we can go all the way back again to 2018. Again, I was not doing crypto then, and I don't know what the news was back here in November of 2018, but something happened. Something happened, and Bitcoin went from 6,000 to 4,000, and I don't know what that was. That big drop there. I don't know. But there was probably something. Again, a lot of this is news-based, and that's not happening unless there's some negative crypto news in the past month and a half or the next month and a half. But you got to be ready for that maybe to not happen this cycle, to have one of these late cycle big drawdowns. Again, I don't know what happened in November of 2018. I don't know what the news was, but that was a big drop. Just like the big drop that happened in 2022. But again, that was news-based. I know what that one was, FTX. That was FTX. Ask Rock. Good question. That is great. Let me do a new one here. What was the negative Bitcoin or crypto news that caused the price of Bitcoin to drop from 6K to 4K in November 2018? Good idea, Gurinder, because I don't know. Again, Gurinder putting the Ask Grok what happened then. So there we go. The sharp drop in Bitcoin from the mid 6,000s to 4,000 range was not caused by a single piece of Bitcoin specific news. It was a cascade that began when Bitcoin broke long-held technical support, then accelerated amid heavy selling and market-wide fear. The most commonly cited catalyst was the contentious Bitcoin Cash hard fork hash war. Well, that was it. I would say that would cause it. Bitcoin Cash split into two competing chains, BCH and Bitcoin SV. The two camps publicly threatened each other, including talk of 51% attacks and miners shifting hash power. That created uncertainty and selling pressure across crypto, including Bitcoin. So that's what it was. That's what it was. Thank you, Gurinder. It looks like it was the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, hash war, and talk of 51% attacks. Thank you, Gurinder. Well, there you go. For those that don't know what BCH is and BSV, they were forks of Bitcoin. Which, again, last month we had a fork of Bitcoin, or earlier this month. Brian was putting eyes to that, I remember. In one of the chats, we were talking about it, the fork of Bitcoin that did happen. And there were two blocks actually created. So some miner went over there and started mining the fork for the BIP Bitcoin. That's what I call it, the BIP Bitcoin. And the community didn't go with it. There wasn't enough support for it, and so it died. But anybody can fork it. You can. It's open source. You just got to get enough miners to go with you. Node operators go with you to support whatever you think needs to be done. But yeah, that's interesting. That's the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. Very, very interesting. Okay, well, Kriss learned something there. Am I buying more? Yeah, that's what I've got the purple box on here for. That's what the purple box is for, my friend, is to buy more. Purple box. The cause was Pokemon. JP Computers. No. You haven't been here. We've been talking about this many, many times. There's no Doge 1 mission in September. There's no Doge 1 mission in September. If you're still here in the chat, put another chat in there to ask why, and I'll explain it. But everybody else already knows because you've been here. And you know that Kriss knows there's no Doge 1 mission in September. Just ship away now. Buy more. We will see 35-cent minimum again in the next 24 months. That's 4 times minimum on your money. Just buy. Daily, weekly, whatever. Yeah. Okay, so Grok is wrong, JP. We did that live here during one of last week's live streams. And I challenged Grok on it. And then Grok finally gave in. Because Grok is referencing news articles that are incorrect. That's the problem. Where Kriss went directly to Geometric Energy, and Samuel Reed agreed, who's the head of Geometric, who paid all the Dogecoin for the Doge 1 mission, agreed, yeah, maybe next year. So it's not happening. That is an incorrect news article that Grok is referencing. That's the problem with AI, because AI doesn't know whether something is really real or not. If Bitcoin moves down to 40K, what would be the corresponding Doge price? Good question. If Bitcoin moves to 40K, so if we have Bitcoin from here, go to 40K, that's a 48% drop. 48%. So what would be the corresponding Dogecoin price of a 48% drop? Ooh, we're in the fours, dude. 4.5 cents. That would be 4.5 cents. Yeah, that's not happening. Just like Bitcoin going to 40K, in my opinion, it's not happening. Not happening. I got the itch to buy more cards. You're into that Pokemon thing now, all right? The Pokemon. Hey, I'll just stick with Dogecoin, but that's okay. Yeah, 2 blocks. Wait for the winter to buy Pokemon, Crypto Dog says. No, be my nut. Me buy now. Winter is coming. Won't the 30-year celebration make it more expensive again? Probably. Probably. It's now a good time to buy. Hey, Charles, how are you? Purple box, my friend. Purple box. Dedicated to our friend, Miss Charlotte. The purple box has made an appearance on Kriss's chart to get that last Dogecoin buying in this bear market. The purple box. Let's see if it plays out. We'll see if it plays out. If the price just goes up from here, somebody asked me this the other day, but Kriss, what if the price just keeps going up? Then what are you going to do? And I'm like, ooh, yeah, right. I don't like playing out those scenarios in case I'm wrong. I don't like to do that. It's just like, yeah, no. I don't want to do that. If it's 4.5 cents, then we'll sell the house, the car, and everything and buy more Doge. Right? Yeah, it's not going that low, though. In my humble opinion. IMHO, in my humble opinion. The 30th anniversary will cover all Pokemon. Money from all sides will cycle over to the 30th anniversary products. Those will be inflated. Not enough money to spread into the other Pokemon segments. Huh. Maybe. I've been in the Pokemon markets since 2012. Good luck. Yeah, no magnet yet. No, I don't want to put a low magnet on. We'll do that in the bull cycle. Next bull cycle, we'll put magnets on chart. These are boxes on the lows. They're boxes. Yeah. And I had that Jasmine box and I did not buy. Went right into my box and I didn't buy. I might get a second chance. Right now, I'm looking at this white circle for Jasmine. Again, we looked at this on Wednesday. But this was the weakness here caused by those Korean exchanges that are going to be delisting Jasmy. And I just thought, even though it was in my box, I was like, ugh. And then look at this big run it went on. It was like, wow, that was a sweet run for Jasmy. It went up 50%. That would have been a nice little swing trade there, huh? That'd been a nice little swing trade. I did a swing trade today over here. Well, I started it yesterday. I bought Micron. I bought Micron down here at 9.15. I sold it this morning at 9.38. So that was about $1,000 of profit right there on Micron, and I booked it. Right after I sold, Micron dropped down to 9.25, but then it moved up to 9.45. So I missed the top. I missed the top on Micron. But that's okay. I wanted to de-risk going into the weekend. Because Micron closed at 9.32. Now it's down to 9.30 after market on a Friday. Yeah, that's not great. The other one was Supergroup. And I sold the top on Supergroup right here. This was my average here at 13.91. I sold at 14.31 right here. I didn't have as much of this. This was about $400 or $500. I sold the top right there. Now it dropped all the way back down. So Kriss did good on that one. Kriss did very well on that one. Sold the top. And again, this is just my stock portfolio, and I just do the swing trading just to keep me interested on a day-to-day basis. But Supergroup was one that I targeted. And yeah, this afternoon was definitely the right time to sell. And down it went. Which Micron is doing now too. Micron's back down to 9.30. So selling it here at 9.38, 9.39, I was right in that range. Didn't quite get the top, but again, wanted to de-risk going into the weekend. So those were, again, I just, every day I do some. Now Supergroup I held for a little bit longer, but Micron was like end of the day yesterday. I bought and then sold this morning and made that trade. So that was a good one. We still have House of Doge, which just you zoom out a little and just this looks horrible. One of the worst stocks ever. And again, it's a company that has no revenue, no profits. There was some scuttlebutt yesterday about them unincorporating, and but that was a different House of Dogecoin Foundation nonprofit thing they had set up about 1.5 years ago, which wasn't the company that they actually created to make money. That was going to be something initially 1.5 years ago that they thought of doing, where instead they went and they bought out. First it was Clean Core, and then it was TBH. And then they ended up doing the whole takeover of TBH and changing that to the House of Doge. So that is their real company. And this other thing, this nonprofit thing that they disbanded yesterday was not this. It's not this. So that's a little Dogecoin related thing that maybe some people were questioning. So glad I stayed away from crypto stocks. Revenue puts me off. Rather just buy the crypto instead. I mean, there are many people who think MicroStrategy will outperform Bitcoin. Bitmine will outperform Ethereum, like all of those. I don't know. I'm with you, Gurinder. Just buy the crypto. Because the stock is... Who knows? Hey, maybe MicroStrategy outperforms. Maybe BitMine outperform. Don't know. Jasmine will do it again. Maybe. I posted my video. I posted a video on my X page, talks about the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. $250. Right. If it's the 200 and the 50 daily moving average, again, on Bitcoin, they haven't crossed since back here. November 15th, 2025, right there. I have it circled on the chart here. That was the death cross. You can't have another death cross until you have a golden cross. You can't have two death crosses in a row. It's impossible. Now, we could have a golden cross coming up. That could happen. It's not here yet, but that could happen. And maybe it happens in a matter of a couple weeks. If the Bitcoin price stays up here in a couple weeks, we could have a golden cross. Boy, that would just freak everyone out, and everybody would turn bullish then, right? That would turn everybody bullish. When's the last time we had a golden cross? That would be right here. May 2025. What happened after the golden cross? You ask. Bitcoin went down 10%. Bitcoin went down 10%. So just because something makes a golden cross does not automatically mean price is going up. Again, just putting that out there so you're aware ahead of time, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when Bitcoin hits a golden cross and everybody gets all ecstatic and says it's only up from here, you heard it here first from Mr. Kriss. That doesn't always mean the price goes up, because the last time we had a golden cross, Bitcoin price went down 10%. Just saying. I'm just saying. I remember these things because we talk about them. I've been doing this long enough. We talk about them. Dancing Doge, how are you? Bear market isn't over. They always fake people out. Yes, Purge, I agree. I agree. Yeely, how are you? I thought today was Thursday. Surprise! Surprise! Yeah. It's Friday. It's Friday. Boy, we had a nice little move on checkmate, but it gave it up. It gave it up. It came all the way up to 1.8, and now it's back to 1.4. Oh. You know, for a second there, I thought about selling, but then I was like, no, I would still be losing money on the trade. I don't like to lose money on my trades. Although I bought some of my checkmate at 175, I bought more of it up at like 2.2. So I need to get at least to 2.2. So we wait. We wait longer on checkmate. That may end up being quite a long swing trade to see how that plays out. That might be a long swing trade. For those that were just joining, I played out a whole scenario with Bitcoin, and it was on this other chart here, on my on this chart here. I played out this whole thing on the weekly scale, very similar to a Ben Cowan kind of thing, looking at how Bitcoin has performed this bear market, a low in February, a high in May, and a low in June, which turned into the end of June, beginning of July bottom so far for Bitcoin. And that bottom is 57,495, which Kriss had targeted as being the price that Bitcoin would be at for the bear market bottom, and has already called that, and has already called that bottom. There are many who say Bitcoin needs to go down to the 40s, and then it's going to happen in October. And I'm like, yeah, my chart doesn't show $40,000 Bitcoin. My chart doesn't show that, particularly with last week's big run up. Now, the run did come up and it touched the 50-week moving average, which is this blue line. That's the blue arrow, points to the 50-week moving average. It touched it and then moved lower. So there's two things that can happen now. One would be Bitcoin comes down to 69.5 and touches the 200-day moving average, which we looked at on the daily chart, and bounces off that and then moves higher. That would be a bullish move and would signal possibly a bull market right there. Or we could see Bitcoin come into this purple box, which would break below that 200-day moving average. That would confirm we're still in a bear market, and it would be a buying opportunity, that purple box. We compared this movement of Bitcoin that happened in this bear cycle, 2026, back to exactly what happened in 2018. And you can scroll back and you can see all the detail of that, but this is what happened. 2018, we had a low. This was at 6,000 right here. This orange line is 6,000. Today it was 60,000. I mean, this fall. I mean, this summer at the bottom of the bear market was 60,000. This was 6,000. We had a drop in February, had a move up in May, and then a drop again in June. So that whole thing exactly happened in 2018. Same months, same everything. Came up and hit the 50-week moving average right there. Touched it. It happened in July in 2018 instead of August in 2026. But it did hit the 50-week moving average. And then it capitulated. The price capitulated. Now, we've just learned here live, thanks to our friend Gurinder, encouraging me to go ask Grok what happened. That was the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV fork wars that put a whole lot of FUD into Bitcoin and 51% of tax and all of that. So that's what happened. And Bitcoin dropped from 6,000 to 4,000. Are we going to have one of these big pullbacks? Yet this bear market, yet this bear cycle. That's the unknown at this point, whether that is going to happen. So, and then what was further asked was, if we do have a 40% pullback from here, what would Bitcoin's price be? And correspondingly, what would Dogecoin's price be? So, yeah, we'd come down to 40K in Bitcoin, and in Doge, we would be down 4.5 cents. Yikes. But those were scary times back then. Now, what did Dogecoin do at the end of 2018? What did Dogecoin do? Oh, I don't have it on this one. I got to go to this one to see what happened in 2018 for Doge. Whoa, that was a big, oh, Dogecoin. Oh, Dogecoin. Dogecoin had traded up in September of 2018 all the way up to 0.0065, and then it dropped 67%. Ryan, I'm not making that up. 67% pullback in Dogecoin. While Bitcoin dropped 40%, Dogecoin went down 67%. Oh, yeah. It's just funny how that number keeps showing up, isn't it? Yeah, so that's what happened to Doge back in 2018. You talk about bear market stuff. Ooh. Oof. That's an oof right there. Big oof. Down 67%, my friends. Ugh. So just looking back, I got to come bring this back forward. Yeah, we've been looking at this chart for a number of different things. The 2021 big run up. Oh, I know what this chart was used for. Ha! I remember what this chart was used for. This was our logarithmic chart where we were looking at, yeah. This is the chart we were looking at. Boy, it's been a long time now, hasn't it? We were looking at cycles on this chart. I remember. Well, Ryan, we haven't looked at this chart in a while. This is the chart. This is the chart. We are going to be revisiting this chart. I got to get rid of my, get rid of those things. This is the chart we're going to be looking at this fall for the next bull cycle. This is the bull cycle chart right here, is what this is. Because in previous bear markets in 2018, well, let's go 2014, in 2018, we dropped below this red line. 2022, we did not come down and touch the red line, which tells you the strength of the 2021 move. Right? 2022, we did not come down and touch the red line. But here we are in 2026, below the red line. So again, the 2021, 2022 years, that's an anomaly, right? That's like, that was the craziness of the hype. The Dogecoin never should have gone this high, but then the low that we had didn't go as low as it should have for the 2022 bear market. So we have that. Dogecoin should have come back to like 2 cents, and it didn't. It only went 4.95. It should have been back down here at like 2 cents, and that didn't happen. So now, here we are back below the red line. So this whole thing has played out as if you pretend 2021, 2022 didn't really happen at that level. We're going to be talking about this fall right here. This is the chart. So let's just, Ryan, you're going to love this. Let's put a pin on this. That's like a Chamath thing. Let's put a pin on this. We'll come back to it, okay? We'll come back to it. I love it. I love it. Let's put a pin on it. Oh, God. And we got to have our fun, right? Somehow we got to have our fun. Right now, we're at 8.5 cents, just below 8.5 cents for Doge. Bitcoin is Bitcoin's still not really doing well. 77.4. 77.4. We're at a crossroads, Redliner says, or Redline Racer. If Doge fails to hold 8.4 on the weekly, we will inevitably fall back down to the low sevens. Yes, I agree. Trade flat for a few months? Yeah, that's iffy. I think there's going to be a lot of buying. We get back to the low sevens, there's going to be a lot of buying. So I don't know if it will be flat. We've seen that before, though, but that goes back to 2018. Flat trading. And I'm like, I don't know. Once we get into September, we start getting a little more volatile. We were flat in the summer for periods of time. Long periods of time, we were flat. Remember last year when XRP was a stable coin? Kriss called it a stable coin. Yeah, good times. Well, maybe that was the year before. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so let's see what happens on the weekly, right? And whether where Doge ends up here. But there's certainly weakness in Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is red going into Friday night, into the weekend. There's no stock market trading, no ETF buying to prop this thing up. Like none of that is going on. So yeah, I don't know if this is going to hold. I don't know if that's going to hold. We can get rid of that old purple box. Don't need that anymore. That was the weekend. That was last weekend trading that we were looking at earlier in the stream where we were just going sideways. With one dip late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, Bitcoin had a dip and then recovered back up. And that was right there. But ended up pretty much being just a straight sideways trading weekend. Was last weekend. So we were trying to see, well, does this weekend, is it going to be any different? Right now, it's at the same place it was a week ago. Bitcoin's at exactly the same place. So on the weekend, are we going to have the same kind of movement or not? Well, we'll watch that. We'll watch that and see. I'm going to have to draw the purple box over on this chart just to bring it over. I'll do that later. You guys don't need to see me do that. I get all my moving averages right and do it on the right time frame. But we'll be looking at it. Right now, Bitcoin is looking weak on the chart. This is the hourly chart, and Bitcoin is red on the hourly. Dogecoin is actually green on the hourly right now. So we're having a little divergence here between Bitcoin and Dogecoin at the moment. But Bitcoin is looking weak. So you want to watch me manipulate my Bitcoin chart. Oh God. Ryan, there's something wrong with you. I just got to get the purple box right. That's all. So we go to the daily chart. There's the 200-day moving average that we think Bitcoin may come down and revisit as support because we blasted right through it here last week. blasted right through the 200-day moving average. So we would think that Bitcoin would come down, retest the moving average, and then maybe move higher, and that would be bullish. That would be a bullish outcome for Bitcoin, particularly if the move back up crosses back over the 50-week moving average. But this was the target here for Bitcoin and where to put the top left corner of the purple box. So let's do that because, and I said September 1st, which would be here, 69.7. Let's call it 69.7 right there. Now this purple box we will extend into October. So we will do that. We can get rid of that now. We can get rid of that now. Can zoom this out. And we can say the bottom is the bottom, right? 59,475. And we extend this into October. This is a buy zone into October, right there. So there's our box. That wasn't so bad. I thought it would take longer run, but that's what we did right there. So now the question is, right, do we make that move? And then what's the follow-up move if that happens? If Bitcoin does show weakness and comes back and touches the 200-day moving average, which will be arcing back up, right? So higher than it is now. And I say, if that indeed happens, this is when Kriss starts buying crypto. I'm not going to buy it all at once. I'm going to space it out, but I'll be buying again right there. Purple box. And as a reminder for those that didn't hear, our good friend Charlotte, Miss DGen Charlie, asked me to draw another box. So there it is. With that, again, I still think that this most recent run up was a big bull trap. Yes, it was a bull trap, my friends. And with a bull trap, what usually follows is a move downwards. A move downwards. This move up that we had here, again, took out a ton of leverage, but today's drop was even more. Again, I'm on a daily chart. I need to come back. 2-hour chart here for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin had this big move down, came all the way down to 76,899 here, took out a ton of long leverage, but it wasn't just Bitcoin that was moving down. One of the big ones that was moving down was actually Hyperliquid. Yes, Hyperliquid had a big move down here, came to 78, took out a ton of long leverage trades, and all of those long leverage trades, again, across crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, XRP, all got taken out. Big liquidation. Over the past 24 hours, it's $480 million of liquidations taken out. Leverage traders, goodbye. So that's the story of today. And we knew there would be volatility with Fed Chair Warsh talking, doing his Jackson Hole thing. We knew there would be a volatile Friday, and it certainly was. So that is what we had today. There's still the off chance of a double bottom, but with how intensely 9 cents is being rejected every time we touch it, breaking 10 cents seems difficult. Yes. And and I called this, right? We called the target on the fib extension up to 922. Doge did go above it briefly, took out a lot of shorts, came back down to that line, traded it all last weekend right there, and then moved down and reset a lower line, which was like 8.6. Now it looks like we could be 8.4, and we could be going sideways even lower at 8.4 into this weekend. So we will be watching that. I don't know what GDOG is, Purge. It sounds like some token. And I don't buy tokens playing off the Dogecoin name. So no. It just looked like that to me on the global chart. Mista says liquidity. Well, there's a lot of liquidity. If we go into our heat map, again, this is another reason we could have Bitcoin going back down to 64K. Again, we could have Bitcoin going down to 64K. It's making me log in again, guys. Why did it log me out? Kriss doesn't like that. I got to log in over here. Excuse me. Let me get this set up. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Logged in. So this is the Bitcoin 1 month chart. And we see this huge cluster right down here. This, my friends, is hundreds of millions of dollars of leverage down here. Hundreds of millions of dollars down here. You know, the exchanges and the market makers know that that's here. Now, what would it take to get the Bitcoin price to go all the way down and wipe out hundreds of millions of dollars? I mean, this is billions of dollars down here. They're not going to want all those people to win. They might have to just suck it up and just take the L, right? Take the L on those leverage trades. Because those guys are winning big. They're winning big. If there's a rate hike in September, we'll have a dip. Agreed. Clarity Act doesn't pass. Dip. All of that is happening like in the same week. And even the SEC and CFTC stepping in to make their own rules, it won't be the same. Clarity Act doesn't pass. Fed hikes rates. That double whammy could cause pain. That would send the price way lower. Yeah, Purge, I agree. But yeah, this heat map is just, there's a huge target down here. But God, for the price to get down there, you know, again, we have it on our map. We have it here. Let's look at that. That zone for that liquidity, if I draw it in, that's like right in here. Let's make that red. or yellow. Right, that's where that liquidity is. It's right in here. If we get down to the 200-day moving average at 69, those market makers are really going to be pointing to this liquidity here. This is a box within a box. Ryan, I've never done that before. A box within a box. Charlotte will be like, what? A box within a box. Yeah. So this is where that liquidity is right there. It's right in this zone. The box within a box. Oh God, that's hilarious. That's all down here. That would be something. I don't think the market makers would let the bull market start with all that liquidity. Yeah, right. Who? I know, right? Who is that Charlotte person? Yeah, well, that's what the heat map shows for Bitcoin. That is quite the chart right there. I'm going to have to post that. I'll do that after the live stream. I'll post that along with my double box. I'll tag Charlotte on that too. She'll be like, what? What? What does Dogecoins look like? Where's all the liquidity on Doge? Oh, it's down here. 6.8 to 6.7. My friend Ryan, you can't make this up. You can't make it up. 6.7. There it is. It's 6.7. 6.8 to 6.7 is where all the Dogecoin liquidity is. Oh God. There it is. It's right there. The market makers exchanges will pull another 1010 this time in 2026. They could. I mean, look at all of the liquidity down here. Look at all this. And this is, I mean, the Dogecoin long leverage trades from down here aren't anything compared to those Bitcoin trades, 62 to 64. Which are hundreds of millions of dollars on each one of these lines. Where for Doge, it's $10 million, $9 million, $9 million, and $10 million. Each of those. But on the lines for Bitcoin, each of those yellow lines is $500 million. No, this bottom line is at 6.7 Purge. 6.7. The bottom of this whole chart here is 6.5, 6.59. So yeah, the biggest yellow line here is at 6.729. Is what this is. The cascading effect. Yes. And so it would probably go even lower than that. I agree with Purge. Earning back faith from longs after such a blatant money grab at low levels might hurt their rally in the long run. Blatant money grab. Exactly. Blatant money grab. Wow. Well, again, we look on the hourly chart here on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's looking weak right now going into the weekend. Yeah. Hey, Marmello, how are you? You say, yes, the bottom is in. I agree. But that's some juicy leverage. Again, if Bitcoin goes down to 64, 63 and grabs that liquidity, it still wouldn't match the bottom that we had back in July of 57,495. So the bottom would be in. And we're going to talk about bull market highs in the fall. I'm not talking about that today. Today, we're trying to figure out where to buy. Exact. Night Raider saying it's a perfect time to purchase some. Is it now or do we wait? Do we wait for the purple box? That's the question. That's Tuesday. The purple box starts on Tuesday, September, which is just a Kriss thing. That's a Kriss thing. Because I said beginning of September. So that's where my purple box starts. So is that the move right there? You earned 6.5%. Are you part of Coinbase One? Isn't that right? You have to be a Coinbase One member in order to get that yield on your USDC now? That's a question. I don't know. I've just been swing trading with all of my Coinbase monies, trying to make a little money here and there. That's what I'm doing. I had a good swing trade on Spell token, and I'm looking for Based to come down. So next week I'll probably be buying Based, and then I'm still stuck in that checkmate trade. Stuck. Wait for that to possibly go back up. Yeah, Coinbase One. Yeah, I didn't join Coinbase One because I don't trade enough to really make it worth it for me. I just don't. So I pay the fee on every trade that I make on Coinbase, but I don't do enough trading to really make Coinbase One worth it for me. And particularly like next month, everything is going to be in Doge, most likely. And I'm not going to be doing trading because I'm holding. And I'm not going to have USDC because it's all going to be in crypto. So Coinbase One doesn't make sense for me. Just imagine if they burn the dead coins and send the market crashing as low as it can go. Who burning which dead coins? Mizda, I don't know what you mean. Burning dead coins. Who's burning? And which coins? Be a little more specific. And yeah, burning coins normally makes price go higher. Yes. Yeah, got to see what that is. Doge is still under 8.5 cents. It's curling back up here. So Doge has 3 green candles on the hourly chart, where Bitcoin is kind of going down. This current candle is trying to be green. We had a doji candle 2 hours ago. Bitcoin Bitcoin chart not looking great. Are the devs still working? Yes. So Paulo keeps us up to date. He's over in Portugal. If you can follow him on Twitter, and he keeps you up to date on the little things that he's working on. So they're still doing stuff. And we do have Doge OS. It's going to be launching to the public soon. They've got more info coming next month, they say. So I'm waiting, patiently waiting for Doge OS as well. And who knows with House of Doge and Such Pay and all of that, now that they have their own stock under their own name, their own ticker, like all that, they got to do something for revenue. They got to do something. And it's just like nothing. So all of that is coming. And that's going to be good for Dogecoin. All of that is coming. Murphicized, how are you? You've been lurking. That's all right. I'm doing good. As always, I'm doing good. Hanging out here in Florida, just working on my studio. We're pouring concrete today. Yes, concrete pour today, the new slab. So it was an exciting day today. Start framing up the walls next week. Right now we're targeting November 1 to move in. So yeah, but this background isn't bad, right? This isn't bad. I got the glass blocks here, right? It's just like it's temporary space till I get my real studio. Working on it. They should wait for the bull market for Doge OS. I think that's what they're doing. That makes sense. Because boy, wouldn't that be something? Doge OS launches and the price of Doge going up at the same time in a bull market. That's pretty smart. Don't launch your thing in the middle of a bear market. Wait for the bull market. That's pretty smart. I'll give them that. I'll give them that. They're cooking at the House of Doge. They should be. We're waiting. I mean, why create a company and then not do anything except sponsorships? Sponsorships is money going out. That's not money coming in. That's money going out. Sponsorships, brand deals. It's like you got to be making something. So we wait. Soon. Zach. All right. Did you move again? Yes, I did. I cashed out, sold the big house, bought each of my kids their own condos, and I bought my own house in Florida. All cash, no mortgages. That's what I did, Zach. No mortgages. So, and my cost of living now is minimal because I've got no debt whatsoever. And just can have fun this cycle now. It's all gravy. A new studio. I don't think I'm going to do green screen. I've toyed with the idea. I know what Tom Crown does, and he looks great, kind of floating on his. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do the green screen thing. You'll see what I do though with the background. I'll do something as a backdrop, but no, not a green screen. I'm not going to do that. Indy 500. Well, I don't know if DeFrancesco is going to be that kind of driver again. I don't know. It was fun for 1 year. Florida, yes. Working on saving up for a first home at the moment. Good luck, Zach. Hope you get it. Be nice to buy it cash. Dogecoin has the power to do that. But I understand it takes money to make money. And you gotta grind through. I get that. You gotta grind through. Bitcoin's just weak right now. Weak, red candles on the hourly chart for Bitcoin. Still weak. Oh, Solana's now down 5%. Solana. So, yeah. All right, that's what I got for today, gang. We'll see how this plays out over the weekend. If there's any big moves, I'll come on live, which is why you have to be subscribed and you got to have your notifications on in case I do a surprise live stream, because I'm really not traveling anywhere this weekend. I'm taking my car in to get it serviced. I'm doing that tomorrow. Just kind of we're just kind of hanging out, enjoying the weekend, not really traveling this weekend. Next weekend is a big travel weekend. And the weekend after that is even bigger. So yeah, next weekend, I think we've got Fort Myers and Naples. And then the weekend after that, we're going up to Washington, D.C. So yeah, we're having fun traveling around. But I'll still be here during the week. So that's where we are right now, gang. Have a great weekend. Yes, Maramello, you too. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I hope everyone has a good one. And next week, a lot going on. We got the end of the month. We got September starting. A lot going on. So come on back. Let's enjoy it all together. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Dogecoin, which started as a complete joke, has like skyrocketed to not a joke anymore. It hit an all-time high of almost 10 cents yesterday, but it was so minuscule you wouldn't have understood why you have millions of shares.
Didn't Elon tweet that too?
And arguably, the most entertaining outcome and the most ironic outcome would be that Dogecoin becomes the currency of Earth in the future.